Hi, I'm Sarah Cowgill, along with Andrew Moran, Kelly Ballard, Graham Noble, and Dave Patterson. And this is the Conservative 5, Liberty Nation's online TV news program. On today's episode, coming out of the ether, what happened on that stage? We'll discuss in debate a good dose of GOP or a missing link. What exactly is wrong with the president being so indifferent to Americans in Biden's busted give a damn on display in Maui? And who knew we'd have yet another protest song zoom up to number one? Panel will tell you why in another angry American anthem. Surprised? And just when we've whipped you up in a fury, they're just for fun. Volume 40. All this and more coming up in this edition of the Conservative 5. Televisions across America and beyond turned in to see Trump's competition for the top spot on the GOP ticket. 8 hopefuls took the stage in Milwaukee and strutted their policy and personality stuff. As we already knew, Donald Trump was a no-show. But we all watched with popcorn and adult beverages, and then there's Graham pecking away madly, bouncing between Trump on Tucker and the debate. So, Graham, you have 2 minutes to set the tone for the panel discussion today.
Well, Sarah, I don't think, purely from my personal perspective, I don't think the debate should have given any Republican voters a great deal of hope for the future. I thought that was a sorry bunch of candidates, basically. I don't think any of them really had a breakout moment. Of course, as always to be expected in these kind of forums, certain candidates are going to say exactly the right thing on exactly the right subject. And, and that gets them an applause, that's an applause line for them. And people think, yeah, great. He or she has nailed it. Fantastic. But all in all, I don't really think anyone stood out apart from perhaps Vivek Ramaswamy, who seemed to be the one guy on the stage who at least had the courage to challenge a couple of the establishment approved narratives, particularly on the subject of global warming and on the subject of Ukraine, because these days, whether you are a Republican or a Democrat in Washington, it is taboo to argue that we should not fund this stupid war in Ukraine, which is going to be an endless conflict that we are pouring tens of billions of dollars into. And let's face it, I'm not a pro-Putin, pro-Russia guy by any means, but Ukraine is every bit as corrupt as Russia is. And really the only difference between Russians and Ukrainians is that one group calls themselves Russians and the other group calls themselves Ukrainians. We're beyond the stage now where the Russian military has been degraded to the point where it is not a threat to NATO, and that's all that we should be worried about. Ramaswamy was willing to challenge the establishment on that. And also he was willing to point out that the theory of man-made global warming is a myth and a con. And again, Republican or Democrat, you are simply not allowed to say that. So I would tip my hat to him for that. But then again, Ramaswamy has been known to flip-flop on other issues. I think a couple of candidates had a couple of bad moments, like Ron DeSantis, when the candidates were asked, would you support Donald Trump if he was the eventual nominee? And of course, Ron DeSantis kind of looked around to see how the others were answering before he committed himself. I think that was a terrible moment for him. And of course, Chris Christie, prevaricated. He kind of put up a little finger, but then kind of later kind of backtracked on that. And then, of course, you've got Asa Hutchinson, who is an anti-Trumper anyway. So, that was a bad moment for several candidates, but I don't think there was a breakout moment for any of them, really.
Andrew, you were lit up last night on social media. I know you followed every second. Poor Graham had to bounce, but you followed every second. And I know your favorite line of the whole night came when Chris Christie said something about Vivek being Chat GPT or something.
Yeah, because a couple of nights ago at the dinner table, we were talking about the election, and I said that Vivek Ramaswamy sounds like a Chat GPT. And lo and behold, Chris Christie says the exact same thing. So I think he probably, wiretapped my house. But anyway, Ramaswamy, he was the guy that everyone targeted. Mike Pence targeted him, Nikki Haley targeted him. Pence was the one who said, "Oh, you can't be too old to be president, or you can't be too young to be president." And Nikki Haley said to Ramaswamy, "Oh, you have zero foreign policy experience, and it shows." But Ron DeSantis was pretty much laid off Ramaswamy during the entire thing. Actually, he was taken aback a couple of moments by Ramaswamy. One was, Ramaswamy was putting his finger in the air, trying to find out the political direction, making fun of Ron DeSantis. And then, of course, the hand raising, he had to look at what Ramaswamy was doing, a couple of other candidates. So Ron DeSantis, of all the major candidates, not Burgum or Hutchinson, but the major candidates, Ron DeSantis seemed like the weakest one, which is surprising because, as we've discussed offline, Vivek Ramaswamy's running the campaign that everyone thought Ron DeSantis was going to run. But DeSantis had all these awkward moments. At the closing arguments, he paused for a moment when they called his name as if his computer was rebooting, and then he gave an awkward smile and then started talking, giving those, the canned responses. So overall, I guess, actually one more thing. Nikki Haley, she was doing well until the second half of the debate when she started crying about Ukraine, as if she was running for president of Ukraine. So overall, the star of the show was Ramaswamy, although he smiled too much, but you can't blame him. He went from nobody to polling, second or third in the polls.
Yep. Dave, did you tune in, or do you still adamantly into the Bush people?
No, I watched the minute by minute the entire thing, and I would say that I took away three things, and a caution that I don't fall into a Rick Perry moment. But the winner of the night, the winner of the night was Donald Trump, who did not participate in what would have just been nothing more than a sniping contest with him as the target. Good move. Winner of the debate, and here's where I diverge, not to be argumentative. No, actually, I do want to be argumentative, actually. Ron DeSantis was the winner, who did not stumble and kept his relative pole position. Additionally, when he was asked if he would use military force against Mexican cartels, he exclaimed, "Darn right I would." And that's what people want to hear. The loser of the debate, and I'm sorry, Vivek Ramaswamy. With an unforced error, he accused his peers of being bought and paid for. It demonstrated what everybody was accusing him of as an immature comment, and it fortified just their point of view. Also, he loses on his Ukraine position, in my view, because none of them have what I would see as the right Ukraine position. If you're against the being involved in Ukraine, probably it's because of the way the Biden administration is executing their non-strategy. Well, any plan poorly executed is going to be a bad idea, and Biden can be accused of that. Geeky wireheads and conservative Gen Zers will still like him, but I thought that he did not come off well in that debate. He did not come up to my expectation.
You know what?
How can he be wrong, though? How can Ramaswamy be wrong when he accused of being bought and paid for? You look at a lot of these candidates, who are some of the top corporate donors? The very people that Vivek Ramaswamy mentioned when Nikki Haley was defending the war, and Ramaswamy said, "Oh, you sound great. I wish you the best of luck in your future career serving on the board of directors of Raytheon and Lockheed Martin." So it's hard to dispute that those candidates are not bought and paid for. Perhaps it's not a direct bribe, but these defense contractors support the very people who are militaristic, who are neocons. You watch Mike Pence, all he ever was talking about was just, you have to continue this war in Ukraine no matter what. Haley was saying the same thing. Tim Scott diverged a little bit. Burgum said the same thing. Hutchinson, the same thing. So Ramaswamy, he tapped into that non-interventionist streak that most Americans support. If you look at some of the polling data, most Americans want to end this war in Ukraine. Ramaswamy spoke on behalf of those very people, especially the young millennial Gen Z Republican voters.
I would say that
were even watching. None of them. No Gen Z. I don't even know if any young people are watching. And one of the things I want to point out, and I want somebody to run with it, is that Chris Christie was talking about being well behaved because that's the office, and he kept insinuating that Trump was not well behaved. Well, we all know Trump was not well behaved, but I don't think Chris Christie is either. I think he's just as big of a bully and a name caller and a poker. You.
Yeah.
He was rude. I didn't like him.
I think
anyway, but
I think he is. I mean,
night.
Chris Christie is such a fraud, and the fact is that he's, let's face it, he's barely a Republican at all. I mean, he was the governor of one of the bluest states in the country, and that really tells you everything you need to know about him. But yes, you're right, Sarah. For Chris Christie to try to pretend that he's somehow, the presidential, well-behaved, polite, civilized, and good-mannered, alternative to the brash and sometimes kind of frankly childish Trump. Well, that's nonsense, because Chris Christie can be very nasty when he wants to be, but I think, look, I mean, who can even trust Chris Christie, because he doesn't really stand for anything. Like so many establishment politicians on both sides of the aisle, he will say and do whatever it takes at that moment to get what he thinks is to get the most votes or the most donations for his next election. And who can trust a man like that? And but beyond that, I'm not sure that we're even not just wasting our time talking about Chris Christie, because he has two chances of becoming the nominee, and that's slim, which is not a word I should perhaps use in the same sentence as Chris Christie, but slim to none are his chances.
Well, if I can waste everyone's time, I'll say Chris Christie had another great moment, actually, when he made fun of Ramaswamy, when he actually plagiarized Barack Obama, saying, "Oh, I have a funny I'm the skinny guy with a funny last name," and Chris Christie called him out. And that reminded me of the time in 2016 when also Chris Christie treated Ramaswamy the same way he treated Marco Rubio. So that was another bright moment for Christie.
And I think that's one of the dangers. Ramaswamy, the one, I like the fact that he's willing to kind of buck the establishment narrative in several ways. But the one thing that concerns me about him is he does appear to be a little derivative. It's almost as if his persona that he's put together for running as president is kind of is cobbled together from multiple other people in the past. He's like a he's like a walking collage.
Conservative 2. This is the conservative 5. So you two can take it offline and argue all day long.
Come on, Graham, let's go. Come on, Graham.
Ramaswamy. And I want to hear from Kelly. Kelly either didn't watch the debate or she hated it so much she just doesn't want to say anything. So I want to hear from Kelly.
Yesterday, I was not going to ruin my birthday by watching the debate, so I did not watch it, but I was, looking over some of the recaps and things like that. And I would say, from what I saw, it looks like Ramaswamy, he's kind of also trying to be a funny Trump, not a strong Trump, with the going after the establishment. And was he the one who asked about if Trump was who would support him, or was that the moderator?
It was the whole loyalty pledge. Ramaswamy said he signed it. That's why he qualified. But he also was asked, would you pardon Donald Trump day one of your presidency? And he was one of the first one to raise his hand enthusiastically immediately. And then
All right, guys, it's time to close this one down. You guys, I swear, I can't. It's like herding feral cats. Anyway, sorry, Kelly.
Oh, that's fine.
This is one party shaping up to be a doozy come primary season. Thanks for tuning in with our rowdy bunch, and thanks, panel. It's been 2 weeks since a wind-whipped firestorm in Maui took the lives of more than 100 people. The death toll is still mounting, and 850 or so souls are still among the missing. As Hawaii tries to pick up the pieces, a seemingly indifferent Joe Biden, who said no comment one too many times on his front lawn, finally showed up. So did the protesters. Poor guy had to interrupt his second vacation in as many weeks trying to look presidential. Dave, does he deserve credit for, time served in Maui?
Well, as you rightly point out, President Biden did break himself away from his vacation in Lake Tahoe to visit the devastation in Maui. But, I'd like to make an observation. Biden performed his standard clown act, and conservatives talk about it with incredulity. Why? We sound surprised, aghast, even. Again, I ask why. Joe Biden has been a prevaricating gaffe merchant for as long as he's been in politics, and his trip to Maui was no different. He's talking to people in shock, most having lost everything, as you point out, they owned or rented. 114 friends, relatives, children, mothers, fathers dead, with another 800 missing, like you pointed out. And what does he empathetically say? I don't want to compare difficulties. Well, of course you want to compare difficulties. Quote, but we have a little sense, Jill and I, of what it's like to lose a home. That's a crock. He never came close to losing a home. He goes on to make a long story short. Fat chance of that. I almost lost my wife, my 67 Corvette, and my cat. The only reason he might have lost his cat is because he couldn't remember where he put it. And, I think Ben Shapiro actually nailed this on the head when in his latest article in the Daily Signal from Heritage, when he clearly explains that Joe Biden is not an empathetic person. He's a narcissist. If he talks about you, it's only to find out what you think about him. He used a nearby 150-year-old banyan tree to illustrate the fortitude of the Hawaiian people, and they do exude fortitude. The only thing the reference actually did was to provide an example on stage of something older than he was. And I say this with a newly cultivated appreciation for experience and maturity.
Oh my. Okay, well, that choked me up a little bit. So, Andrew, just from a distance, because you don't really have a say in what we do down here, just from a distance, what kind of president is this guy where he'll go to Ukraine instead of East Palestine, Ohio? He will do anything but go to help the American people.
Well, it seems like everything is an imposition to him because, as you noted, he was on vacation and he took a 5-hour break from his vacation, and then he went back on vacation. And every time, I think Dave alluded to this, every time he attends one of these events, no matter what it is, he always makes it about himself. He says that he was a truck driver. Another time he says he was a baseball player. Then he says he was a football player. Then he said he was the lifeguard at a swimming pool. So all these things, it's constantly about him. And what's funny,
he was a gang member, for goodness sake. He was a gang member.
Corn Pop. He was a bad dude.
He took down Corn Pop.
Dude. But what's funny too about when he shares these same stories, he never gets the story right. And then if he gets the story right, there's just something seems odd about it. So Dave mentioned that story about his kitchen. So he said that he was on Meet the Press in Washington 15 years ago. The firefighters called him up that his home was on fire. And he said he had to rush back and he watched the flames go on. So you tell me the firefighters called him, he waited the whole time in front of his house, and then when he came, they doused the fire. Is that what happened? And they also then took 20 minutes to get it under control. So this whole idea that you can compare the two is just laughable. And also one more thing too is that when he goes to these events, he seems either bored out of his mind or he's really tired, because there was a clip that circulated on X, previously on his Twitter, of course, and it looks like he's falling asleep. So maybe he's not falling asleep, but he just looks like he's really tired. So overall, this is an old man trying to do a young man's job, it appears.
Yeah,
Well,
he just shuffles along. Kelly, okay, Kelly's jumping in. Come on, Kelly. Come on,
I just
jump
said,
in.
well, he was on vacation. That's why he was so tired.
Yeah, whatever.
I haven't confirmed it, but I also saw that, people were complaining that he's going to Lake Tahoe for vacation, where Lake Tahoe is asking people not to show up there because of climate issues. They're having problems.
Yep.
And they need people to stay away to build up the fish and the environment there. So for a president who is so big on climate control, why would he go somewhere where they're asking people not to? So there's that.
That's good.
But I agree with Andrew about in Maui. He also forgot the name of Maui, right? Didn't he say something about, that place they always show on TV or something like that? So
and he got the senator's name wrong too. He tried saying it many times and he just gave up. He said, "Oh yeah, that's senator."
All right,
yeah.
Graham, you're biting on your lip. Do you want to talk?
Well, it's appalling. I hate to be that guy, but imagine if this had happened when Trump was president and he had gone on vacation and then gone over to Maui for a few hours and made some highly inappropriate comments and then skipped off back to an $18 million mansion that he's renting in Lake Tahoe. I mean, the press would have wanted his head on a plate. This is ridiculous, but I think really, Dave absolutely nailed it when he described Biden as a narcissist. And that's the problem. He is a true narcissist. Everything is always about him. He's one of those people. If he's talking to you at some point, he's going to cut in and say, well, enough about you. Let's talk about me. And, and he makes up these ridiculous stories that everyone knows is fabricated. Oh, back in the day, I did this and I did that. And he didn't do any of those things. That is a typical narcissist that will do that, who will basically, because narcissism is a form of psychopathy. And narcissists will just fabricate stories to build themselves up in the eyes of other people. And he does that constantly. He can't help it.
I have noticed though, on some of the activist media sites, they covered the protesters. They said, he was met with just some fierce protesters standing as, I mean, somebody had done the math. I didn't check the math because I don't do math, but I can do words. And I read them. And here's what they said, that you're handing out $700 checks from FEMA to these people, which doesn't cover both food and the $500 hotel bill a night in Maui on the side that didn't get burned. And in Ukraine over the last year, each individual has received an average of $1,700. And it's like, hello, America, remember that country, Joe? So that is one of the things that I was mad about. I'm not anywhere near there and not going there. But I was mad about that. And Hawaii is not happy with Joe Biden.
Well, Hawaii's not happy with anybody at this point. I mean, you look at that. There was a presser with the Maui mayor, and this guy went up to them and he said, how many kids are missing? And the guy refused to say how many children were missing. And they said, oh, let's just end it here. And now there's even more outrage because the report came out saying that the officials who tried barricading, those people who avoided the barricade, they survived. So you had needless deaths, and then you have reports saying the sirens didn't go off. So you have complete mismanagement on this federal, state, and local front. So you can't blame anyone for getting outraged by the president or any of their local officials.
And it was probably environmental mismanagement in the first place that caused the fires.
Right.
That guy who said, "Oh, we love our water. We treat our water sacred," and then you don't use the water to put out the fires. It's just absurd what happened there.
Well, you have to use the water, Andrew, to further equity in Maui. And of course, the native farmers, they needed that water while their crops were burning.
Yes. Kelly.
I was just going to say, we're talking about how Biden doesn't care. Well, he's shown that from the very beginning. Has he even really visited the border yet? I mean, from day one, he's just ignored all of our southern border states being overrun with illegal immigrants. And with Maui and with other disasters that's happened in the country, he doesn't care. Like we were talking about, he's shown that from the very beginning. So,
well, didn't he just on the same day that he was going to fly out to Tahoe on vacation, the second vacation in as many weeks, didn't he say, or didn't he send and announce that he was sending billion, 200 billion or 200 million, or I don't even know the right number because I don't do math. So somebody correct it. But he was sending aid to Ukraine. And, why wouldn't these people be mad? Will it translate at the ballot box? Who knows? What do you think?
No.
Well, I think that Kelly is on to something, and it's kind of what I meant when I offered my observation. He has been nothing but insensitive to those around him and to those who have been in extremis, and you can pick your favorite incident. But nonetheless, it's all about Joe Biden, and it's all about him and what other people think of him. And it hasn't changed, and we shouldn't be shocked at all by this. What I think that as conservatives need to say, okay, enough of this talk about the person that we already know about, and we've nailed him, we've identified him, we've described him. Now, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We're not going to be as insensitive. Something happens, we're going to be in Palestine, Ohio, within hours. And you don't hear the candidates talking about that, what they're going to do and how they're going to be different. And I think that's a mistake.
I didn't hear anything about that on the debate stage. And I'd really like to have Graham weigh in on this with me.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's absolutely right. It's one of the things that was sadly missing, not only from the GOP debate, but also it was missing from Donald Trump's interview with Tucker Carlson. Was that nobody is spending a great deal of time talking about what they will actually do if they become president, and just how they will act as president that is different from how Joe Biden is acting. I think that's important to make that contrast. Again, Dave was right about this thing about Joe Biden. It's all about him. Who can forget that famous time when they're unloading the coffins of soldiers who were killed in Afghanistan, and Joe Biden standing there checking his watch? I mean, that told you everything you need to know about this guy. And these candidates, whether it's Trump or any of the others, should be making that distinction. Not only, okay, this is what I'm going to do if I become president. Yeah, I'm gonna build the wall. I'm going to stop illegal immigration. I'm going to do this, do that. Yeah, sure. We know that you're going to say all those things. But what is going to make you different from Joe Biden? Look at the way this guy has behaved as president, which is an absolute disgrace. Now, how are you going to be different? What is incentivizing the American people at the next election to say, okay, we've had enough of this guy, and we know that this guy is going to just be completely different, so we'll go with him. And none of them are really doing that at the moment. And I think that's a shame, because I think Joe Biden's getting a free pass from all of the GOP candidates. He's getting a free pass because none of them are really dwelling on how bad a president he is.
Yeah. Well, my observation, and all of ours apparently, is that Joe Biden seems to want to be anywhere in the world but where he's needed. Here, at home in America. Maui will not forget his indifference come time to cast a ballot. And that's just around the corner. Thanks, panel. Music has always been a way to express displeasure at the government. In the 1960s and 70s, songs against the war in Vietnam held steady. It was Neil Young, Buffalo Springfield, Crosby, Stills, and Nash that made us think a little bit deeper. But since 9/11, it's more of a country rock uprising. Toby Keith sang about patriotism when the Second Gulf War started. Lee Greenwood released Proud to be American. But in the Biden disaster, it's country and bluegrass that are making the charts today. Kelly, can you talk about the resurgence of protest songs and why they resonate with today's America?
There's an interesting theory that country music, the reason people don't like country, certain people don't like country music, is because it's Americans standing up for Americans, saying we will fight against the left or anyone trying to take away our gun rights and things like that. So Jason Aldean came out with Try That in a Small Town. That caused a huge ruckus. People were so upset. And the things he was saying, they weren't bad at all. They were just saying, try and come for our guns. That's not right, things like that. But the left went crazy saying he was trying to cause riots. He was trying to or lynch mobs. They've accused him of trying to promote lynching and things like that. And then they really went crazy when he deleted, I don't know, maybe 8 seconds of the song for the pictures, not the song, but the pictures, because they were of the Black Lives Matter protest. But what really happened is it was a copyright type issue. They just needed, more permission or something like that to use. So now we have a new song out by Oliver Anthony, and it's called Richmond North of Richmond. And that one is getting criticized by both the left and the right. At first, conservatives and Republicans love this song. He's talking about taxation and, things like that. But he's getting criticized because when he did interviews, he was saying that he's middle of the road. He's not Republican or Democrat. The biggest thing is that he embraces diversity, but that we need to embrace diversity, not use it to separate us. And so even conservatives are mad at him now, and then it's just a mess. So music has changed a lot, or actually the reaction to music has changed a lot.
Dave, have you been tuning into Richmond, north of Richmond?
I certainly have, and it is after a fashion, a protest song, but quite frankly, America is based on protest songs. I mean, Civil War, World War I, the Great Depression, Arlo Guthrie. In the 50s and 60s, you had country or folk music that was nothing but protest songs about one thing or another. It is part of our culture. And the only thing that distinguishes whether the protest song is of any value is how good the singer is. And we've had some very good singers. I mean, with the possible exception of Joan Baez.
I like her. I like her. Graham. I just want to ask you this. Do you tune into all different genres of music, and B, if you do, like say rap, how is that not controversial? And these two songs that Kelly has mentioned, why are they?
Well, I've always been extremely passionate about music ever since I was a very young child, and I listen to all genres of music, except not really a big fan of kind of rap and hip hop. But even then, I'll hear a track now and again that I kind of like. Generally speaking, I do not like country music, particularly modern country music, because as far as I'm concerned, if some dude is singing a pop song and he's wearing a cowboy hat, that doesn't make it country music. But not an enormous fan. But even then, there are some country tracks that I like and listen to often. So I'm very much open to all genres. And the other thing is that I will listen to whether or not I like a song has got nothing to do with the political persuasion of the whoever wrote the song or whoever's singing it, and it's also got nothing to do with the lyrics of the song, even if the lyrics of the song are what you might describe as kind of the lyrics are putting over a kind of a left-leaning message. I don't care. If I like the song, I like the song. And I think it's silly the way that these days everyone rushes to claim something for their side. Like, the Jason Aldean song, conservatives immediately jumped on and kind of claimed that as that's our message. Yes, yes, yes. Well, I've got a little piece of bad news for you, Jason Aldean fans. He's said some things in the past that as conservatives you wouldn't particularly like. So there you go. You can do your own research.
Well, I can tell you, because I'm from a small town and I live not near a town. and I can tell you this, if you're a Democrat or if you're a Republican, both sides embrace that because they live in a small town.
Yeah.
But it's not a political thing.
And you know what, Sarah, you're exactly right. It should not be a political thing. Jason Aldean's song shouldn't be liked or disliked because of of some kind of stupid politics.
Well,
It
controversy
should
was
be
because the left jumped over it, and that's
Yeah.
the only reason that song became popular.
Right. You're right.
And then if you listen to the words, how do you not enjoy those words? How do
I
you
don't
not
know.
go,
Yeah.
"We're American and we stick together" when
Yeah.
the chips are down? You know,
That's right. That's right. And the thing is, with this other song, with Oliver Anthony's song, here's the thing about that is that again, conservatives kind of jumped on it and tried to claim it as theirs, and then left wingers hated it. But here's the thing: if you listen to the lyrics of the song, 30 years ago, the left would have applauded those lyrics. Because it's about a guy who's sick and tired of the fact that he's working his fingers to the bone for bullshit pay, and the left would have loved that song years ago. But now, you know what? They see it because we have a Democrat in the White House now. All of a sudden, anything that dares to criticize the government or the establishment is kind of right-wing extremism. So the left doesn't like Oliver Anthony's song because they see it as an anti-government song, which years ago they would have loved, and now they hate it because it's anti-government.
Well, I don't think it's anti-government. I think it's anti-elite that we elect these old people that just drain us dry. I mean, I think that's the message.
Yeah.
But I also want to hear from Andrew, who must be noodling something in that Canadian brain of his.
Well, I would say that song reminded me of that famous speech from Peter Finch in Network when he says, "I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore."
Yeah.
It reminded me of that. But everyone knows I'm a closed-minded person, and I only like classical music and jazz. I'm a city boy, but I also have a country heart, and I gotta say, I gotta sing a song just for Dave. And it goes, "Oh, inflation's grip is tight, squeezing pennies out of sight. It's a midnight bandit causing restless night. Country roads and city streets feel its wicked heat. Time to stand together, admit defeat." That is my...
I love that guitar.
Inflation is Evil by Andrew Moran.
Andrew, that is destined for the country and western top 10, but what it needs, just in addition, is getting drunk last night while signing divorce papers on a southbound freight.
Yeah, and you went to pick up your mama, but she got run over by the dang old train. I mean, you're missing a few good lines in there, Andrew. Okay, we can't leave Andrew and his debut performance as a country western singer.
Yeah, I have more
in the wind. I mean, Graham, I've never seen Graham without any kind of thing to say. And
I think we're all a bit stunned.
He just kind of stopped the show with that remarkable performance. But no, I
think we just got to call it. We're just going to leave early today.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Another temporary anthem in a country battered, but yet unbowed. There will be more until we right the listing ship. Thanks for watching, and thanks, panel, and thanks, Canadian rock star country music guy Andrew Moran. We are back to entertain you, or maybe this just for fun is just for us. We'll see. Take it away, Andrew.
Hello, and welcome to another big show. And I think at this point, only Dave knows where that reference is from. So anyway, I am your host, Andrew Moran.
Ed Sullivan. Don't even go there.
Okay, all right. So, all right. I am your host, Andrew Moran, voted the ugliest game show host in the history of television, even worse than David Letterman.
What you're saying is not true. Second of all, this is not the place to say it.
So before we get to the festivities, let's meet your wonderful guests. Up first, hailing from parts unknown and weighing in at, sorry, we never divulge a lady's weight, is sassy Sarah Cowgill. Next, she's a clobber, she's a baller, she's clobbering ballin' Kelly Boward.
It's clobbering time.
And then we have two gentlemen named Dave Patterson and Graham. So now on to the contest. Today's Just for Fun is your post-debate Know Your Republican Trivia contest. So if you were not tuned into Tucker Carlson's interview with Donald Trump, Graham Noble,
I am disappointed.
Then you were definitely tuned in to the all things the 2024 GOP debate and get to know these wonderful, terrific White House hopefuls. So let's get started. And please only answer the choices after they have been given. So question number 1, and I think actually Graham's gonna get this right on. Former President Donald Trump refers to this presidential candidate as Ada, something that he will not explain why. Who is this candidate? Is it A, Nikki Haley, B, Asa Hutchinson, B, Vivek Ramaswamy, or D, Mike Pence?
B.
I call him Ada Hutchinson.
Why do you call him Ada?
I could tell you, but I don't want to get myself in a little trouble.
B. Asa Hutchinson. Yeah.
I'm sorry, who said that? Dave said that first, correct? Or D, Mike Pence?
B. B. Asa Hutchinson.
I missed that. I'm sorry. My kids were
What a
screaming.
tie.
It was pretty close.
Okay.
I say
I will say you both got the point just now because my kids are screaming. And anyway, so question number 2. This presidential candidate shut down his state's beaches and was closed to the public. But this did not stop him from soaking up the rays with his family. Who did this? Was it A, Chris Christie, B, Doug Burgum, C, Ron DeSantis, or D, Asa Hutchinson?
A.
Chris Christie.
I got that.
Sarah got that one. A. All right, here we go. Question number 3. During the presidential debate, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie referred to one of his rivals as someone who sounds like ChatGPT. Who did Governor Christie refer to? A, Tim Scott, B, Mike Pence, C, Ron DeSantis, or D, Vivek Ramaswamy?
D.
I've had enough already tonight of a guy who sounds like ChatGPT.
Yes, Kelly got that one. Everyone has 1 point. Good job, everybody. Question number 4. Former President Donald Trump referred to this 2024 presidential candidate as a, quote, savage maniac and lunatic. Who was he describing? A, Mike Pence, B, Asa Hutchinson, D, Ron DeSantis, or D, Chris Christie?
D.
He's like a savage maniac. He's like a lunatic.
So yes,
he's right.
D is the answer. And if you read Mr. Noble's article or skimmed through Liberty Nation's morning headlines, you would have known that Trump was indeed referring to Chris Christie. Question number 5. Vivek Ramaswamy said that he wished this presidential candidate the best of luck in a future career on the boards of Lockheed Martin and Raytheon, 2 major defense contractors. Who was Ramaswamy telling this to? Was it A, Nikki Haley, B, Mike Pence, C, Ron DeSantis, or D, Tim Scott?
A.
You know, Nikki, I wish you well in your future career on the boards of Lockheed and Raytheon.
A. So the winner is Dave Patterson. Sorry, your name escaped for some reason. Yes, so it was Nikki Haley who looked like she was about to cry when talking about Ukraine.
I think I beat him on that one. I think I did. I think I beat him.
So of course today's winner is Dave Patterson. He will win a free meal at an all-you-can-eat buffet with Governor Chris Christie. May God have mercy on your soul, Mr. Patterson, and enjoy.
Good afternoon, sir, and how are we today?
Just don't remain still for too long when you're at the table with Chris Christie.
Keep your fingers to yourself. You might get one bit off. That's it for fun this week, you guys. I hope you played along, and we'll come and join us again on the Conservative 5 while we just have a good old time. Thank you. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform. YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble, we're on them all. As well, Liberty Nation has its own Roku channel where you can see all of our TV productions. I'm Sarah Cowgill. Thanks for joining us today for Free Thinking, Free Speech, LibertyNation.com.